finding out about it to calling for my application call and signing up for the program. It was just kind of one of those things where I was like, this excites me. It allows me to continue working as a nurse. It allows me to do the pieces of nursing that light me up the most. Oh my gosh, this is the next phase.
What's up, nurses and nurse coaches? Welcome back to the Nurse Coach Collective podcast. Heather here, your host. I am here with nurse coach Julia Lodge. Julia, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yeah. And remind me, because if I'm not wrong, you are my neighbor just to the south, right? In Bend, Oregon?
Yeah. I'm on the sunny side of the mountains.
Okay, well, tell me, what's it like outside of your window? Because I'm up here near Portland, and I got the serious gray skies and drizzles coming down.
Well, maybe I spoke too soon because we are having a little bit of rain coming in supposedly this afternoon, but that's good because we've been in some wildfire smoke. So hoping that's
yes. Well then, Julia, we can sit in the drizzle together for a little bit. I'm so grateful that you're here with me, and let me introduce you to everyone else. Julia Lodge is a holistic nurse coach, also a mother to twin teenage girls, wife to a mountain guide, and an outdoorsy adventure lover. As a nurse coach, she aims to help her clients discover their untapped potential by getting to the root cause and giving them permission to dream big. She especially enjoys supporting individuals who are experiencing burnout, going through life transitions, or are recent breast cancer survivors. Though she only graduated from the Nurse Coach Collective 4 months ago, she's gained so much confidence that she now runs a group program to support new coaches to boldly step into their new role and ignite their inner leader so that they can also create the business of their dreams. Amazing, Julia. I am so excited to get to spend this time with you. So right there within that introduction, I want to dive into absolutely everything. But I'm going to start specific and I'm going to start fun. What would you say is the coolest thing that you have been able to do as a nurse coach?
I think the coolest part about nurse coaching is the opportunity to slow down and really get to spend intentional time with my clients. I think, that's something that I have craved for a long time within my nursing role, is that ability to really take more time, be more intentional, and nurse coaching grants that space.
Why do you think that piece is so important, or in what ways did you really feel like that was missing for you before?
Well, I really feel like as nurses, our greatest gift is that gift of presence with our patients, with our clients, and just sitting with them, in their most vulnerable moments. And when other tasks are calling you, you have meds to give to other patients or, another family or patient to attend to, you don't get that time to just sit and be in those moments when they're ready to just share or experience this deeper healing. And within nurse coaching, right, we have this opportunity to really sit and be with our clients and help them explore that root cause of what has led them to this situation.
Interesting. So you're able to make a really direct comparison to how you were able to show up and hold space and be present in your previous role as a nurse versus now in your practice as a nurse coach. Tell me a little bit more about your previous life as a nurse. What area were you in? And maybe more importantly than that, what did it feel like where you used to be practicing?
Well, I celebrated 20 years as a nurse this year, which blows my mind. Also, I think you're also an OHSU grad.
That's true. Yes.
I am as well. So that's fun. But so I have worked in the world of pediatrics for my nursing career. And in pediatrics, we support a lot of parents, though. So we're working with the kids, but we're also, specifically working with a lot of moms. And caring for their children who maybe have ongoing chronic health needs and helping them maybe release some of that guilt of, gosh, like, was part of this my fault? Or I should have done something different to help my child feel better. Yeah, I guess to back up a little bit, the first 10 years of working was at the bedside at Children's Hospital in Portland. And then the last 10 years, I've been working over here in Bend. I primarily support children with asthma, so helping them gain better control. And so a lot of education, a lot of one-on-one support. And so it's been cool because nurse coaching has been like, oh my gosh, like that next step, just kind of taking deeper that connection that I've been doing, and now getting to really like full circle, get to provide that really like proactive, robust, deeper support and care.
Yeah. So how did you know that you wanted to become a nurse coach? Like, was it specifically, did you already know that the thing you wanted was to cultivate more presence, to be able to go a little deeper, or was there something about the role that you were in that wasn't quite working for you?
About a year and a half ago, I had just found myself in a spot where I was feeling really burnt out. You know, like many of us who, you know, going through that pandemic really just took a toll on us. It kind of like intensified maybe the burnout that we were already feeling. And I was feeling like just unsatisfied in my job, I guess, kind of feeling like I was just kind of a rinse and repeat. And I personally was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can continue doing this for, 20, 30 more years. And was kind of in a place where I was like, gosh, do I even want to be a nurse anymore? Like, I love what I do, but I'm burnt. And I had a friend come to visit, and she was sharing about this new thing called nurse coaching that she had heard about and was thinking about doing the program. And I was like, this sounds amazing. And I don't totally understand what it is, but there's something about it that just sparked within me. And I knew that if I didn't explore it, I was going to regret it. And so it's kind of like from finding out about it to calling for my application call and signing up for the program, like all happened in less than a month. It was just kind of one of those things where I was like, this excites me. It allows me to continue working as a nurse. It allows me to do the pieces of nursing that light me up the most. And so it felt like one of those like no-brainers, like, oh my gosh, this is the next phase.
What are those pieces of nursing that light you up the most, that nurse coaching opens doors for?
Yeah. And it's that, like, just as I was speaking before, it's that deeper connection. It's that ability to help my patients, my clients heal. And I kind of vaguely alluded to it before, but I have always been pretty passionate about supporting my patients and proactively caring for themselves. Within the traditional healthcare setting, that can be really challenging to do. We jump from fire to fire. We like slap on a Band-Aid and hope that it sticks. We treat their symptoms by, giving them a new medication and just treating like what they're experiencing right now, rather than going upstream and looking at what is really going on. And nurse coaching allows us to do that. And I think of our medicine as a nurse coach as being that intentional space, that deep, intentional listening, a space of non-judgment, our ability to hold that firm belief in our client's capacity to change and transform. And that medicine holds so much magic.
Yeah, and everything you just listed there, I mean, I think those are all generally the reasons why we choose to become nurses in the first place, right? Because we want to be able to support our patients in that way. It's just that sometimes it takes 20 years and sometimes it takes 20 hours on the job to realize that there most often isn't that time, there isn't that space, and the framework within most healthcare settings is not set up for us to be able to do those things. And I think it's always hard to be a part of a system where you want to do good, but it's just not working. There's just so many missing pieces. But I think it must be especially heartbreaking when you're working with kids, when you're working with pediatrics.
For sure. However, I always like to give the plug when people are like, oh my gosh, I could never do pediatrics. But, those kids are so resilient. It's amazing what children can overcome and what they can teach us. So, yeah.
Have you, out of curiosity, worked with any kids in your nurse coaching practice?
Not yet, but I would definitely be open to it because especially those kids in their teenage years, when they are really ready to kind of create their own pathway and their own journey and maybe break out of some family dynamics that they've been experiencing. Gosh, it's so, so powerful.
Spoken like someone who has some personal experience with teenagers.
Yeah. Yes. Professionally and personally. Yes.
little twin girls running around over there somewhere.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, for sure.
That's awesome. You went from this place of feeling burnt out, feeling like something was missing, to finding nurse coaching, not really knowing exactly what it was, but thinking, okay, there maybe this is the missing piece. I'm going to go for it. And now we're fast forwarding until you're 4 months out of the program. Looking back on your experience in the 7-month journey of going through the Nurse Coach Collective, what would you say was your biggest area of personal growth and transformation?
I think one of the biggest pieces for me personally was diving into things that I had been telling myself for years and years that maybe weren't true. One of the biggest things for me was that I'm not enough. That voice in my head all the time saying I'm not enough. And having the opportunity to dive into my own personal healing journey and tell a new story and find a story that was more true was really freeing, really freeing. I think the second piece to that is giving myself permission to dream. It's really funny. I think a lot of us can get ourselves into a spot where we're feeling exhausted, worn out, burnt out, feeling stuck. And it doesn't even come up as an idea that we could dream of something different. And that's totally where I was. I was like, I don't even know what else I could do. And then all of a sudden I started to give myself permission to dream of something different. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could create a life where I have my own practice, where I get to, ultimately I'd love to incorporate the outdoors into my coaching because that's a big part of who I am. And yeah, I could create this practice of my dreams and I could have more time to travel and be with my family. That did not even cross my mind before. And now it's I can't believe that didn't cross my mind. That should be, we should all give ourselves permission to dream because that's where the magic happens.
Permission to dream. I love that because you're right. It's so easy for us to get stuck in, the same inner narrative that's been playing over and over again, or the stories we tell ourselves, or we create the little boxes around us. And sometimes it takes that internal switch to give ourselves permission to climb out of that box and get permission to dream. Sometimes it takes working with a nurse coach or, working with a peer coach inside of the program. So I love that you've had that experience and are able to put words to it, right? You've really been able to see that process. Well, going back to what you said before about kind of escaping that mentality of feeling like I'm not enough. That was this old story that you were living in. And I think as you and I know, because we've now worked with many clients and many humans in our practices, that is not unique to you. I have felt that way myself. And most humans have experienced at one moment or another that feeling of not enoughness, feeling that I am not enough. And so being able to rewrite that story, build that out for me a little bit, Julia, because if that was the story, what is your story today, now, being a professional nurse coach, having your own practice, having these new insights for your life and your family. What's the current underlying belief that you're working with?
It really flipped my willingness to try things new and to do things that like before I'd be like, I know I'm not very good at that. So I'm afraid to like really fully jump into it and like allow myself to feel vulnerable and seen, not being, perfect or the best. But instead I'm like, it's scary. Awesome. I'm going to do it because it's scary. And because I know what's on the other side is that like the freedom of trying something new. And then what do you know? Like you succeed. And also other people see you putting yourself out there and then are inspired to do the same. So I would say that it's definitely infused like my personal life and my relationships and my willingness to try new things in the outdoors. And then like business-wise, man, like being an entrepreneur was something.
Tell me everything about the business side.
Gosh, like I never imagined that I would have my own business. And so this business world is a whole new world for me. And it feels scary and it feels vulnerable. But I would say like the feedback that I get from my family and from friends and from people that I've connected to since is so positive and so supportive. And, like they're cheering me on and they're like, seeing the journey that I'm on and wanting to know like what is it, like what is creating this magic, and they want to be part of it. So yeah, that's really exciting.
I'm not surprised at all that they want to support you and that they want to be part of it. I mean, it's really clear just from sitting here and listening to you and looking at you, I can hear it in your voice and I can see it on your face that this is work that you love. This is work that inspires you. It is not work that burns you out. Let's put it like that. Yeah. When we compare sort of that story to the current one you're living, it's pretty dang incredible. I hope that you, as you're saying all this, feel really proud of yourself, Julia.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. I really do. And, I think a lot about too, because life is really busy. So I am still working my job at the hospital as I'm growing my practice and, being a mom, doing all the things. And I think back like, gosh, like part of me's like, okay, Julia, be careful. You don't want to get yourself to that place of burnout again. But I would tell you, Heather, I mean, when you're doing the things that light you up, that you're excited about, it's different. Instead of being in a place of like buried under the to-dos, but nothing is fulfilling, that's where the burnout happens. But when you are doing the things that really get you excited, that you feel like you're making a change, that it's doable. And I know that I'm not going to be working, 2 jobs forever, right? That's the end goal is that I'll get to transition out of my hospital work and work as a nurse coach full time.
And in the meantime, while you're still at your current role, are you finding that you're able to bring what you've learned as a nurse coach and have that enhance the care you provide there?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say from the get-go, from the start of the collective, I started using the tools that you all were teaching us and noticed right away that like I was able to get to answers and information sooner, quicker, and help clients and patients like really be able to make some greater changes in their management. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, when I became a nurse coach, I felt the same way. My end goal, I thought, because I was so burnt out in my role as an ICU nurse, like I'm talking crying in the car before shifts level burnt out. Like I was really not in a good way. And so I wanted to leave that job. And I did a bit of what you did. I kind of slowly built my practice. I was not one of the bold nurse coaches who just walks away from one job and moves straight into full time. I weaned down. I went to part time. I went to per diem while I built up my practice. That felt really, really good for me. And I'm glad you're listening and following to what felt really good for you. But I remember having just a teeny tiny novice nurse coach. And I was so surprised that ended up being my favorite year of my career as an ICU nurse, because I could bring so much of nurse coaching into the work that I was doing with my patients, with the families, with my colleagues. I mean, just things that I had never anticipated. That wasn't why I became a nurse coach, but I was so happy that it was able to enhance my role. So I'm really glad that you've had that experience too, Julia.
Yeah. I mean, it levels up your relationships. And
Well
it's
said.
not because I'm a nurse coach, but it's because I now have these skills and this awareness and desire to connect on a deeper level.
And that's pretty cool for you to be able to say, having already been a nurse for almost 20 years, because, nobody could argue with the massive amount of skills and knowledge and human interaction that you had already had in that 20-year career up to that point. And then to still feel that nurse coaching added so tremendously to your practice. I mean, I think that speaks worlds to how powerful this work is.
Absolutely.
So tell me, Julia, a little bit more about your current nurse coaching practice. I'm interested to know, who you're working with, what kind of work you do, if you can describe that and just make it a little more real for us.
So I currently have a one-on-one practice where I support individuals who are also experiencing burnout or maybe on the cusp of a life transition and needing support in that. They're coming in overwhelmed, exhausted, and maybe haven't felt connected to themselves in years or ever, and help them to really uncover that. I also, as you mentioned in the beginning, I enjoy supporting women who are just completing breast cancer treatment. I myself am a survivor, and I remember what it felt like when you step out the other side of treatment and you've been in this space of like so much support around you, all these appointments, and now they're over and you're like, who am I? You don't recognize the body you have. Life feels different and your supports kind of fall away, and you kind of have to, you essentially like recreate yourself. And it's a beautiful opportunity too, because life feels so much more precious. I think that that's a really special journey to help people walk through. It makes me emotional just thinking about it. And then the third piece is that I have partnered with another nurse coach. As you mentioned in my introduction, we are offering a group program for the newer nurse coach to address all the things that we commonly experience when we start out. So maybe lacking confidence, that imposter syndrome, dealing with perfectionism, those limiting beliefs, those thoughts that we carry in our head, and helping to help you get out of your own way so that you can launch your own coaching practice, so that you can create that business of your dreams. So that is so exciting. We are starting our first group here end of September. So we are currently
coming right up
for that. I know. We're so excited. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what I love and what really stands out to me listening to you talk about your practice is how incredibly multifaceted it is. And then let's also not forget, like, still utilizing these skills in your other role as a nurse too. So that counts as a part of all of these different dimensions that you're going with this. And I think, a question that a lot of nurses and nurse coaches have is, how soon and how specifically do I need to like niche down and get really, really specific on exactly that person who I serve? And yes, there's a time and a place, and knowing who you serve is valuable. You very clearly laid out kind of exactly the type of people who you serve in these different settings. But there's also so much room to tap into a total variety of populations and challenges that you really want to support people with. So kudos to you for getting your hands in all of these different areas that excite you.
Totally. I know. And that just, what I would say to that is follow your heart. Like, where is your heart taking you? What people are you feeling led to serve and to help them heal? And, one thing that I've learned, so over the last 10 years within the healthcare system, I created this program from the ground up. And what I would tell you is like, when I started out, what I envisioned then and what it became are totally different things. And so I've learned that like, I know where things are right now in my nurse coaching career are probably going to look so much different next year and 10 years from now, but each step, you're just kind of following your heart and where is it taking you and what is the next best step.
I think that's a combination of trusting yourself and trusting the process while also being unattached to the outcome, right? Knowing that there's going to be this natural evolution as your practice unfolds and also as you unfold, right? In your continued personal growth as well. Very, very well said.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I got to say, I am like just very, very impressed, Julia, that you are, as I said, coming up here on 4 months out of graduating and painted this picture of where you started as a nurse and feeling something missing and feeling burnt out to choosing nurse coaching, even though you weren't really sure what it was, navigating all of these areas of I'm not enough, imposter syndrome. I can't possibly be an entrepreneur. Is anybody going to pay for this? All of these natural questions when you're starting out to now 4 months later, being in a position where you have built up your success and you have built up your confidence to the point that you are able to be a leader to others, helping them build up their confidence as they're stepping newly into this role. How do you think you have been able to do that?
I think a huge part of that is the community that you surround yourself with and making sure that you are connecting in with others who are also going through the journey. And so I've had the opportunity to be a part of another group, Post Collective, to help support me through that process. And I think that that is probably one of the top reasons why I've been able to be successful so far. And that commitment to this is hard, but I'm going to do it anyway because the goal, the dream, I just keep it right there in the forefront. Eye on the prize. That's so motivating, right?
Continue to dream big. As you said, continuing to dream big and to know that dreaming big is not going to be easy to get out there and make those big dreams come true, but you can do hard things and putting in the work and surrounding yourself with the right people so that you are continually feeling inspired and motivated. There's a reason why we call it a collective is because yes, it's about the learning and the skills and every week you have your modules, but it's so much more than just the intellectual and the academic and didactic learning. It's the community of people that you surround yourself with. And I'm so happy that that's been something you've been able to like hang on to and then go on to create more and more of for yourself afterwards. Love it, Julia.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for sharing all of this with me and for sharing about your journey and about your practice. Before we go, is there anything that you want to leave your fellow nurses and fellow nurse coaches with? And I'm actually going to pause right there because I'm going to leave that broad and see what's on your heart that still feels like you want to speak into this space.
What really comes up for me is to give yourself permission to dream and dream big and let it be something that feels really exciting and like maybe something you're like, oh my gosh, is that really something that I could obtain? Make it really big and just start stepping. Do the next thing that moves you closer to it.
Just start stepping, do the next thing. What's your next step? Do you know? Do you know your next big dream and your next tiny step?
Gosh. Well, launching this group program is really my next big step that I am confident is going to be successful and continue to grow that.
I love it. Well, can't wait to talk to you again in a year and find out how all of this has evolved in ways that you and I couldn't have possibly known to talk about or to dream about, because that's just how it works.
Yes.
Julia, thank you so much for being here. I have absolutely had a blast with you. And for all of our viewers and listeners, if you want to find out more about Nurse Coach Julia's practice or upcoming program, you can find out how to connect with her in the show notes. As always, if you want to become a board certified nurse coach, go to thenursecoaches.com and join us. We would love to have you. We've also got a conference coming up, the Nurse Coach Conference. We will also drop the link to that in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.